Good morning, students. Welcome back. Hope you are staying safe and healthy. My name is Pooja Gyanchandani. I am Associate Professor, School of Hotel Management, Babu Banarsidass University. I am going to explain you the topic from the subject Human Resource Management. During this session, we will be covering the topic, the meaning or the definition of management, nature of management, functions of management, and management thoughts. We will be starting with the management thoughts, and in this we will be discussing with the first thought, that is the Taylor's approach. Now, what is management? Management basically, how we will be starting it. Management basically is an important element in every organization. It is the element which tries to coordinate the present with the future. It tries to plan out what is to be done in the future, how we will be proceeding. Management job chart is to manage the things, how we manage our present and how we can secure our future, how we are going to plan things, how we can organize the things, what should be our procedure for doing the work. Management is basically trying to manage all the resources so as to get the best output. Management adapts your organization as per the environment and shapes your organization to make it a more suitable and best suitable organization for the society. Now, what is the definition of management? The different definitions or the meaning of the management is an art of getting things done and through and with people. As per the Mary Parker, the first definition or the most clearly defined management is an art of getting things done through and with people, with the help of the people, and through the people we will the management is going to get the work done. Another definition given by the Kuntz is the basic difference between both the definitions you can see is that both the definitions are almost similar but in the last we have that in the as Kuntz suggested, that management is an art of getting things done through and with people in a formally organized group. Now, in a formally organized group, it suggests that it's clearly suggested that in formally organized group, it is the organization, or it is the group of employees when they are working together for a particular objective or for achieving particular results, and then it will be termed as, or the coordination of their efforts will be termed as management. So management is an art of getting things done through and with people in a formally organized group. Another definition given by Taylor is management is the art of knowing things what is to be done, and it should be done in a best and a cheapest way. So management work is not only to get the things done with the people, but also it should be done in such a manner that not much of the money is involved, as well as the method chosen is the best one. That means you get the desired output, which is beneficial for everybody, as well as it should not involve too much of money, or too much of money is not involved. That means here from this we also get a new word, budgeting. That means our work, management should keep themselves restrict within the budget, so within the limitation, then it will be called as a good management, or then it will be termed as that they are effectively producing. Because if less amount of money is involved, and we get a best product with less amount of money, you will be in the more profit side. So it is the duty of management not only to get the things done through and with people, but also it should be done in such a way that it is the best way and the cheapest way. Then the other definition of management is an accomplishment of results through the efforts of the people. It is almost a similar definition which we have come across. Then another definition given by Henry Fayol is management is to manage, to forecast, to plan, to organize, to command, to coordinate and control. See, another definition we found that the first 3 or 4 definitions are almost similar and suggesting the same things, but later on with more and more researchers and with more and more researchers and with more and more work done on this topic, we find it out that management they try to define the work of the management, or they try to define the role of the management. That management is not only responsible for getting the work done, but it is responsible to manage, to forecast, to plan, to organize, to command and to coordinate and control and get the possible results. The best definition which properly defines the management, all concepts are given by George R. Terry, is management is a process which involves planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. This which you call it as POSDC, that is planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling, performed to determine and accomplish the desired result. With the use of human beings and other resources, we can get with the use of the human resource and other resources available, we with the help of POSDC or planning, organizing, staffing and directing controlling, we will be able to achieve the organizational output. Now what are the nature of management? As we are very much clear with the definition that management is a process of process which involves planning, organizing, directing and controlling, and with the use of this principles are applied on the these principles are applied on the available resources, not only on the manpower but also on the available resources, so as to achieve the objective. On that basis, the nature of the management has been determined. The first point, it says management is a process. As I clearly defined you, that management is a process which keeps on involving process planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. Then management, second, it says management is a purposeful. Yes, management is a purposeful. There will be a purpose for every action, for every activity which management takes, every decision it takes. There should be a purpose. They should have always keep in mind that there is a vision, there is a mission. They have the objective to achieve. Then only they will, in that way only they will proceed. Then management is a human activity. You can call management is a living activity or a human activity, because most of the time management has not to deal with the non-living items but to deal with the living items. That means human resource or the resources or the humans. See, the man, machine, material you can control, but the manpower is one thing which you need to be controlling more, or which you need to be coordinating more effectively. Then only you can achieve what you have planned for. Management involves group effort. Management always will involve the group effort. There will not only be the just I already mentioned this in the definition, that management is an activity of getting things done through and with people. That means it involves a group effort. It will not be a single person efforts or single person who will be running the organization or running the department or any company. It will be the group effort where everyone efforts count. The next is, it aims at achieving the predetermined objective. It has been very much clear that management role is to achieve the predetermined, pre-decided, pre-fixed objectives which in the beginning organization has set up for themselves. It is their job chart, management job chart, to achieve these objectives. Management is both art and science. Yes, it is both an art and science, because art means application of knowledge, and management is not only the application of knowledge but it is also an acquisition of knowledge. Like you can say that once you in one situation one definition, one thing can be correct, but in another situation the same procedure cannot be correct. So it is you keep on experimenting and you get some new results. So management is both art and science. It keeps on working on it, and you get new results each and every time. Management is a profession, very clearly said. Management, from management term only we derive manager. Management involves managers or the leaders. So it is a profession to work on. It is a profession to work on. Then next is, management is required at all levels of the management, is required at all levels of the management or at all levels of the organization. It has been clearly shown in the picture that you can see that there are top management, middle management and supervisory level, and management skills or management principles are required at all the levels. Either at the supervisory level it can be technical skills. The supervisory staff is technically sound. They will be knowing how to do the work, what work is to be done and how it is to be done. The middle management, they are very much clear what is to be done, how it is to be done, but they do not get involved themselves into work. They are basically the monitoring body. They will keep on monitoring, and they will keep manage the human relation skills. They will work on the human relation skills. And the top management is more concerned about the conceptual. That means they will be more concerned about planning things, how they are going to plan things, what will be their strategy, what will be their plan of action, how they will move in the future. while the middle management knows how to implement it, how what things are to be organized for the plans which have been made by the top management, how we what staffing is to be done, how things are to be organized, how we have to keep them controlled, while the supervisory level is the level which is actually doing the work, and they know how what work is to be done and how what kind of skills are required to do that particular job. So that means it clearly specify that management is required at all the levels of the management. That means it from top management to middle management to supervisory level. Next point is management is intangible. Intangible basically means which you cannot touch, but you can only feel. Yes, management is purely an intangible body. You cannot touch it, you cannot express that this is management. You can only understand, you can only feel it, you can understand by seeing that yes, with the help of management we are able to achieve the objective. With when we manage things, we are able to achieve what we have planned for. Then management is a universal phenomena. It's very much clear that management principles or management definitions or management theories are a universal phenomena. It is acceptable everywhere, not only in India, but if you will go outside, you will find that these principles, these theories, or these planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling is acceptable everywhere. That means these are the bottom line, or the you can say foundation stone for the management. Management involves cause and effect relationship. Yes, management involves cause and effect relationship, when you will always find it out that management activities or the reactions will always have some kind of a cause behind it, and there will be a result or effect of it. Whenever management plans something, they must have planned by keeping what is the reason for it, how we will proceed, and then there will be when some activities are implemented, then there will be effect also or results also. So management involves cause and effect relationship. Managerial functions at the different level of the organization level, you can see very clearly that planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling, or you can say leading, controlling is involved at all the level, as I clearly shown you in that in the previous picture, that it is at the all level. That means from the top level where they are using their brains to plan the plan. Then this middle level is the human skill, where they know how these plans are to be implemented, what staffing we require, how we need to organize the thing. Then at the third level we have the supervisory level, which are more technically sound. They know how to do the work, they know how work is to be done. So it is involved at all the levels, from top level to the first level supervisor. Everybody, everywhere you can find that management term is applicable. It is not that only the top management or the bosses will be doing the management. No, it will be done at all the three levels. The supervisor has to get the work done from the employees or the raw level employees. They will be knowing how the work is to be done, what all stand procedures are to be employed to get the work done. So they will be technically sound. Middle managers will have human relation skills, and the top management will have the conceptual skills. And these planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling, or leading and controlling, will be involved at all levels, at all the levels. Now next is the functions of management. As I clearly and repetitively mentioning that management functions are planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. It is a cycle or a chain, you can call it, that management activity keeps on going, and management keeps on planning things for future. They organize things, they do the staffing as per the requirement. Then they directions not only involve giving you the directions, guidelines, but it also involves supervision. It also involves leadership, communication, motivation, where you will keep motivating your employees to produce the best result. And at the end is the controlling or the check, that whether we are able to achieve our predetermined objectives or not, whether we were successful in achieving our objective or not. Now next is planning. Planning is a process of thinking about future. Planning involves creations. Planning involves deciding in advance. Planning basically means the term itself is a self-explanatory. Planning means to forecast, to plan for future, make us ready for the future, or make us planned for what is to be done in the what is to be done. Like answering the questions like what is to be done, where it has to be done, when it has to be done, how it has to be done, and who is going to do it. That means before starting any project, or before before starting any organization, before starting up anything, you need to be ready with your framework, and that framework is provided by planning. You need to be ready with your paperwork and paperwork, or you can call it a blueprint, or you can call it a framework, in which all these questions will be answered. What you want to achieve, you can call it yours also, that what you want to achieve, you will be doing it, when you are going to proceed for it, how you are going to proceed for it, and who is going to do those activity in terms of organization. So features of planning is clearly deciding first and foremost, before starting any organization, before starting any new venture or anything, or any step you want to take, need to first and foremost very much clear about what you want to achieve, or what are your goals and objective. Then you will forecast the future environment and plan accordingly. You will also forecast, also think of, if this will not work, what will be my next course of action. If this will work, what will be my next course of action. So you will be forecasting, planning things. That means formulation, you will lay down the policies, what all policies you will be following, what all procedures your employees will be following, what you will be following, what procedures you will be following. Plan and prepare the budget. It should not be limitless or budgetless. Project should always be, we should have clearly mentioned budget, that within this budget I will be able to achieve my objective. Within this budget, with this budget limit, I will be able to achieve my purpose. So it is very clear, with this framework or with this blueprint you can proceed further. Planning will be a support system for you, or it will be a main spinal cord for you, where on that basis, or on that reference point, you can always check on it and will proceed accordingly. Next function of management is organizing. Organizing, as a term suggests, organizing means to organize things, to arrange as per whatever you have planned. Organizing is like systematic arrangement of all the resources to achieve the organizational objective. It suggests that you will be once you have planned up things. Now next is, you will be organizing things, whatever you have planned up. Now you will be organizing things like what material you require, what machines you require, what kind of manpower you require, how these manpower will be hired, from where they will be hired, who is going to hire them. So these all the steps you will be organizing. Then from where you have to purchase the raw material, from where you have to purchase the machines, from where you will be purchasing your raw material. So these are all what are organizing. Grouping of activities so as to create a well defined job. Assignment of job to the employees, what particular job will the employees will be doing. Identifications of the activities, what all work it is required to achieve those objectives which we have planned for. This is what organizing is. Next is staffing. Staffing basically it involves recruiting. A recruitment will be done on the basis of the requirement of the job. Like if we require a doctor for a job, suppose if I require a doctor for a job, and if I hire an engineer, it will not suffice my objective. For a particular job, if I require a electrician for a particular job, it will not suffice by an BTech electronic engineer. If I require electrician, that means I require electrician for a particular job. It will not be sufficient if I hire somebody who is more knowledgeable or somebody who is less knowledgeable. That means recruitment should be done in such a manner that whatever post or whatever the job is, who can do it. That means a right person for a right job. Then on the basis of recruitment, we will be selecting the employees, training them what is expected from them, how they have to do it. It will involve preparation of duties and responsibilities. Then you will be laying down the duties and responsibility what your employees will be performing, how they will be proceeding, and what all activities they will be performing. Next is the directing. Directing, as I suggest, that directing involves giving the roles, delegating them, providing them the authority, giving them the responsibility that this work has to be done. Then giving them the guidelines, motivating them, continuously motivating them that you need to accomplish the task. Then giving them a proper leadership where they require proper leadership has been given, guiding them, motivating them, so that whatever you have planned for, you achieve those objectives. And in the end, once you have planned up the things, you have organized all the items, then you have already hired also manpower, you are giving the directions also regularly. Now at the end of, or annually, or at the end of the day, you are going to check whether you are able to achieve your objective or not, whether whatever you have planned in the morning or in the beginning, whether you are able to achieve or not. Controlling means evaluating the result, whether you will find whether you are in profit or whatever you are running is of no profit for you, or whether you need to change your work culture, or change your blueprints. That means evaluating the result against the goals, against it, and then take the corrective actions. It is not that you will stop, you will take the corrective actions and try to rectify things. So it involves establishing the standards, and for controlling it involves establishing the standards of performance. First and foremost, you should be very much clear with the standards, how you are going to what are the standards, what you want to achieve, what suppose if the recipe, then what should be the recipe of the product, how what is the standard recipe of the product. Then informing, communicating the standards to the employees, then you will inform the standards to your employees. That means their employees should be very much clear that what is expected, what kind of standard is expected from him. It should not be vague that employee is not knowing and he is asked to perform. He should be very much clear that what are the standard, what company expects from him. He should be very much clear in his mind. Then once it is clear, he should be asked to perform. While he is performing, you will keep on monitoring his performance or measure his performance. Now once the performance is measured, you will compare with the standard. That means what is expected and what he has performed. I would like to explain this with an example. Suppose in the housekeeping staff has been asked to clean 16 rooms. That is 16 room we have finalized as a standard that in a housekeeping staff can clean a 16 room. And this has been informed also to the employee. Employee also knows that he has to clean 16 rooms. Now 16 rooms are too much actually, or you can say 16 rooms are appropriate also. So 16 rooms, and when the employee knows that he has to clean 16 rooms, now he will try to do the activity fast also, try to understand how it is to be done. Then suppose at the end of the day he is able to perform, or he is able to achieve 14 target or 15 target. That means the employee is very good, he is able to achieve the target. If he is not able to perform, clean the room, 8 rooms, 5 rooms, that means then there is some problem in our planning. We need to change it, or we need to find out what was lacking in the employee's performance. So comparing the actual with the desired standard, taking the corrective actions. Now you will be taking the corrective action, that what can be changed, how can we train the employee. We can send the employee for a further training. We can explain things that how you can do the work fast. We can also explain, we can also change our standard also. If it is found that the standard are not being achieved by anybody, then we need to work on our standards also. So we can change our standard, we can plan things in a different manner also. So these are the functions of the management: planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. You will find these functions are being used at every aspect of our life, not only in the business also, but also in our life also. If it is being used, we also plan things for ourselves, then we as per our plan we organize things. Staffing you can remove, but you will be hiring the manpower also if you require. Then you will be directing, that means you will be giving directions, you will be arranging things, you will be directing them, you will be communicating them, motivating yourself also that this objective is to be achieved, motivating others also that this objective needs to be achieved. And at the end you will check or control, you can call it control or check whether you were able to achieve your objectives or not, whether the objective which you have you have established, or the standards you have maintained, whether you are able to achieve those or not. So with this controlling, you will be able to clearly get your answer, that what is to be done, and whether you are able to achieve or not. And then too, it also suggests that the corrective action, it is not only that it stops here, it also tells you about corrective actions, or how corrective actions can be implemented on the employee side. We should whether train the employees further, or what can be done to improve the employee performance. Next is we are through with the management part, of the definition, the nature and the management functions. Next topic which I am going to start is next is management thoughts. Why management thoughts? Reason being, these planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling are from where they have arrived. They have arrived from continuous research and studies which are being done, and these are called as management thoughts, or the studies of the studies done by our past scientists or our past researchers. The management thoughts is divided into two: early management thoughts and modern management thoughts. Actually, it is divided into three: early management thoughts, new management thoughts, and modern management thoughts. But as per the requirement of the syllabus, I have mentioned only two. Though there are several management thoughts, there are many management thoughts, but as per the requirement, I have mentioned the five. The early management thoughts cover the scientific management thoughts or the Taylor approach, administrative approach or the Fowler's 14 principles, human resource approach or Hawthorne experiment. The modern management thoughts approach covers system approach and the contingency approach. Slowly and gradually we will be covering all. Now, the scientific management theory or a Taylor's management approach. F.W. Taylor is considered to be the father of scientific management approach. He has conducted series of experiments to come to this conclusion, to come to his principles. He has conducted several series of experiments and promoted the development of management thoughts through his experiments and writing. It is he who has laid down the foundation for management theories, or it is he who has laid down that there should be for the first time he laid down the foundation that there should be management and there should be the approaches which should be followed in the organization so as to achieve the objective. It should not be that you are doing it without any planning, without any thinking about future. You are just running in the sand. You need to concentrate, you need to think what is to be done and how it is to be done. So he has conducted several experiments to prove things, to get things, to promote the development of management thought through his experiments and his writing. So now, what are the principles of Taylor's? See, the first principle of Taylor is time and motion study. Though it has been criticized earlier, but it is still being used and it is still being applied, especially to our industry. Time study and motion study. Time study basically means he suggested that there should be a time. There should be a time for a particular. There should be a fixed time for a particular job. That means employees should be informed that this is the time limit within which you have to finish the job. It should not be. He suggested that it should not be, the work should not be timeless or limitless. It should have a specific time that this work is to be done within 2 hours, within a day, so that employee is very much clear that he has to done within this time frame. If the employee is not clear, it is a human nature that when we are not aware about what is to be what time frame we have to finish the work, we will keep on doing the work slowly and gradually, so that it hardly affect us. But when we are very much clear that it has to be done within 3 hours, within 5 hours, our mind start working fast, our mind start working and keeping the time frames. So he suggested that every work there should be a time specified, that within this time frame this work need to be completed, and employees should be clearly informed that within this time frame they have to finish this work. Then motion study very rightly and correctly said that every work should have a motion study, or should have a written down, or should have a proper lay down procedures, best possible method to complete the job. It should not be that everybody is doing their own doing the job in his own way. It should be that there should be a proper standards laid down, and which should be informed to the employee, and everybody should be performing in that way. That you can call it as a harmony, or you can call it as an integrity. You have seen that in a march, all are moving in one direction, or all are moving together, then it looks nice. But if it is haphazard, some are moving in the right direction, some are moving in the left direction, some are moving in the center, or some are not moving, it looks what kind of march it is. So effective coordination, so proper methods, that is what he suggested, that employees should be properly and clearly knowing what methods what best possible methods they have to apply, and it should be uniform. Whatever the activity is to be done, it should be uniformly informed to all, and there should be a method to do every job. Each and employee should not be doing the job in his or his own beliefs. It should be in such a manner that every employee is doing the job as per the laid down procedures. Then the second point which actually becomes his drawback also, was the differential payment. He with differential payment, he was of this approach that money can motivate the employees can motivate the employees, and with the money as a motivator, the employees will produce more, or will produce more efficiently. He suggested that that he laid down a standard, that within this standard, employees, if the employees reaches that standard or cover those standard, they will be paid less. That yes, In case if the employees are reaching the standard, that means if you have to produce 10 items in a day, you will be paid less. But if you cross the standard, that means if you cross 10, then you will be paid more. That means you will be having your wages as well as incentive. But if you are not able to make the standards or reaching just the standard, you will be paid less. He thought that with this motivation that you will be getting more, if you produce more, the employees will start producing more. But to his surprise and to our surprise also, employees were not able to, as most of the employees were not very much clear or not very much having the zeal or having the capability to produce more. So they were not able to produce more, so they have restricted themselves, or they kept themselves below the standard. They never never tried to achieve the target, or never tried to achieve the standard. So it find out that it is not the money alone which can motivate the employee. Then drastic reorganization of supervision, it again is a very much big drawback of his job, his principles. He suggested that there should be, as many jobs are there, as many supervisors should be there. That means there will be too many supervisors, and as suggested that too many cooks spoil the broth. That means too many people if are involved in one activity, they will only spoil the work. Same thing happened here also, when too many supervisors were observing only one activity, like suppose water pouring. Water pouring is done by the employees, and there are too many supervisors observing that water pouring only. What will happen is, when the employee will be getting the directions from 2-3 supervisors, he will not be able to perform. He will be always confused that whom he should be listening, whom he should be following. So too many supervisor can only destruct the activity rather than making the activity. One supervisor is more than enough to observe the activities and to help efficiently coordinate. He was of the belief that when there will be too many supervisors, the work will be more efficient, work will be more active. But this doesn't work out in that manner. Then next principle he suggested, scientific recruitment and training. It is the very good approach, and we are still following it. It suggested that there should be a proper recruitment procedure, or there should be a scientific recruitment and a training procedure. Earlier there were at that time there were no training procedures or training methods or training were given to the employee. The employees were hired and were asked to do the job. He suggested that they should not be hired, they should not be immediately asked to do the job. They should be given a proper training. They should be made to understand what is expected from them, how they are going to do it. Then they should come for the job. So he suggested that there should be a scientific recruitment and training. That means there should be a proper recruitment method. There should be proper laid down SOPs for recruitment also. Then we should proceed for the recruitment. At the end, he suggested that there should be a friendly relationship between the management and the employees. Management should understand that employees are also human beings. They also have a brain, they also have a heart, also have the emotions. So they need to correlate with these emotions. They need to work. They need to understand that employees are their biggest resources. It is not, they should not consider the employees as their slave, but rather they should consider it as their resources, from whom they have to get the work done. So he suggested that there should be a good relationship between management and the employees. Now, what are the drawbacks of Taylor's approach? The drawbacks of Taylor approach are, Taylor's time and motion study was not accepted as completely scientific. It was not accepted completely scientific, as at that time it was not suggested whether these principles or objectives are clearly clear, or whether these can be proved through an experiment. So it was not accepted completely scientific that whether these principles are applicable everywhere or not, whether they can be proved through experiments or not. Taylor believed that only economical incentives are enough to motivate, but it was proved that it doesn't work out. The economic incentive alone is not a motivator. That means money is a motivator, but money alone is a motivator is not a right fact. Then too many supervisor, as I already mentioned you, too many supervisor for a same job, for a particular job. If you are getting the instruction from too many people, it will only delay the job, or it will only call for confusion or chaos. That means employee will be always in the confused state, that whom he has to listen, what work he has to do, as there are 3 supervisors giving him the instruction. So to whom he has to listen? If I start giving you the 3 instructions at a time, and you have for one particular job, what you will say, what I have to do, I am confused. So it only cause delay in the work and cause confusion in the job. So these were the drawbacks of the Taylor's approach, though it has a positive points also, as I mentioned, that the friend relationship, scientific recruitment, time study and motion study. But these were the good points which are still being used or still being studied upon. Still work is going on those approaches, on those principles. So these are the and then the drawbacks of the Taylor's approach. Now is the time for winding up the session. Hope you have liked this session and try to understand the concept. In case of any queries, do contact and do send your questions through my email ID. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.